I still remember the very first time I spotted it. There I was, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, brushing my hair like I had 1,000 times before. The light caught a strand, and there it was, silver, shiny, undeniable. My heart sank a little. I tugged at it, hoping maybe it was just the light, maybe it was dust, maybe anything but what I knew deep down. But no, it was gray. That tiny strand felt like a message from my body. Time is moving faster than I want it to, and like so many others, I thought gray hair was a one-way road. Once it showed up, that was it. Permanent. No turning back. For weeks, I stared at myself differently. I felt older than I was, as if the spark of youth I still carried inside had been stolen from the outside. I considered dyeing it, covering it, hiding from it. But deep down, I wished there was another way, something gentler, something real. And then, almost by accident, I discovered a natural remedy that made me rethink everything I believed about gray hair. A remedy so simple yet so powerful, it gave me back not just my color but my confidence. Before we talk about the remedy, it helps to understand why gray hair happens in the first place. The truth is, it's not about vanity, it's about biology. Our hair gets its color from a pigment called melanin, the very same pigment that gives our skin its tone and our eyes their shade. Deep inside each hair follicle are special cells called melanocytes. Their one job is to make melanin and feed it into each growing strand of hair. That's what keeps our hair dark brown, blonde, or red, whatever color we were born with. But as we age, these melanocytes start to slow down. They tire out, produce less pigment, and eventually stop altogether. The result: new hairs grow in without color, and what we see on the outside is gray-silver or white. There's more. Oxidative stress. Tiny imbalances in our body, caused by things like pollution, smoking processed foods, and even chronic stress, can speed up this process. These free radicals damage the melanocytes and the surrounding follicle, almost like rust creeping onto metal. Some people notice gray hair earlier because of genetics. If your parents went gray in their 40s, chances are you might too. But lifestyle plays a huge role. What we eat, how we manage stress, and how well we take care of our body can make the difference between graying early and holding on to natural color longer. And here's the myth buster. Stress alone doesn't cause a single strand to turn gray overnight. But long-term stress can drain key nutrients and accelerate the decline of pigment cells. So while it may feel like gray hair is permanent, the truth is more hopeful. By nourishing those pigment cells and protecting them from damage, we can often support the return of natural color. Gray hair is natural, yes. It's a badge of wisdom, proof of years lived, stories gathered, and lessons learned. And yet for many of us, that first wave of gray doesn't feel like wisdom. It feels like loss. I've heard friends describe it as looking in the mirror and seeing someone else staring back. A woman once told me, "I still feel 30 in my heart, but my hair makes me look like I'm 70. That disconnect between how we feel inside and what the world sees outside can weigh heavily on our confidence. Society doesn't make it easier. Men with silver hair are often called distinguished. Women, on the other hand, are too often labeled old, tired, or worse, past their prime. It's unfair, but it's real, and it explains why so many rush to cover up those grays at the first sight. I know the pressure personally. I felt invisible in a way I hadn't before. Younger people brushed past me in stores. Clerks spoke slower to me, as if gray hair meant I couldn't keep up. It was frustrating, even humiliating at times. If you've ever stood in front of the mirror and felt older than you truly are, inside you know this feeling. And that's why finding a gentle, natural way to bring back vibrancy in your hair isn't just about appearance. It's about dignity, confidence, and the freedom to feel like yourself again. When the first grays appear, most of us do what we've seen others do. We reach for hair dye. It's quick, it's convenient, and at first glance it feels like the only option. But here's the truth about dyes. They're loaded with harsh chemicals like ammonia peroxide and parabens. These ingredients strip the hair cuticle force pigment inside and leave your scalp exposed to irritation. Over time, they can weaken the very strands you're trying to protect, leaving hair brittle, dry, and prone to breakage. Then there are cover-ups, sprays, powders, and even wigs. They mask the problem for a day or two, but the moment you shower or sweat, the illusion fades. They're temporary fixes that demand constant reapplication, not to mention the expense of keeping them stocked. Some people turn to so-called miracle pills or supplements, each promising to reverse gray hair in 30 days. But most of these lack solid scientific backing. They may provide some nutrients, sure, but without consistency, the right balance and lifestyle support, they rarely deliver the transformation people hope for. And perhaps the biggest downside, all these methods treat gray hair as something to hide, not something to heal. They don't address the underlying reasons why our hair loses pigment in the first place. That's why when I stumbled upon a remedy that felt safe, natural, and rooted in both tradition and science, I was curious. Could it really be possible to support my hair from within rather than cover it up? My discovery didn't happen in a fancy clinic or a glossy magazine ad. It happened in the most unexpected way over a simple conversation. One afternoon, I was visiting a neighbor, a woman in her 70s, whose hair, to my surprise, still carried rich, dark streaks among the silver. I couldn't help but ask, "What's your secret?" She laughed softly and said, "It's not really a secret. It's what my grandmother taught me." She pulled out a small jar from her kitchen shelf. Inside was a homemade blend ingredients I'd seen countless times but never thought of in this way. She told me how in her family this remedy had been passed down for generations long before commercial dyes and expensive treatments. At first I was skeptical. Could something so simple really make a difference when modern science seemed to shrug its shoulders at gray hair? But the sparkle in her eyes and the confidence in her voice made me curious. I decided to try it. Little did I know that small decision would change the way I thought about gray hair forever. The remedy was nothing exotic, nothing you'd have to hunt down in a faraway place. In fact, most of the ingredients could be found right in the kitchen or at a local grocery store. The blend my neighbor shared combined fresh curry leaves, rosemary, black sesame seeds, and onion juice all simmered together to create a nutrient-rich tonic for the scalp and hair. At first I raised an eyebrow, but then I began to understand the science behind it. Curry leaves are rich in antioxidants and B vitamins, which nourish hair follicles and help protect the pigment-producing cells from damage. They're also packed with minerals like iron and calcium that support stronger, healthier hair. Rosemary, long known in herbal traditions, improves blood circulation to the scalp. That means more oxygen and nutrients delivered directly to the hair roots where pigment is formed. Some studies even suggest rosemary oil can be as effective as certain chemical treatments in stimulating hair growth. Black sesame seeds are an ancient favorite in many Asian cultures for maintaining youthful hair. They're loaded with copper and vitamin E, both of which play key roles in melanin production, the very pigment responsible for hair color. And then there's the most surprising ingredient, onion juice. It might sound odd, but onions contain a powerful enzyme called catalase, which helps neutralize hydrogen peroxide buildup in the follicles. Too much hydrogen peroxide essentially bleaches hair from the inside out, so reducing it may allow natural color to return. Individually, these ingredients are healthy, but together they create a synergy, a blend that supports pigment cells, nourishes the scalp, and gives hair the best possible chance to regain its natural vibrancy. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't just covering gray hair. I was helping my body fight back against it. The beauty of this remedy is its simplicity. You don't need expensive equipment and you don't need to spend hours preparing it. Here's how I did it exactly as it was passed down to me. First, gather the ingredients. A handful of fresh curry leaves, 1 tablespoon of black sesame seeds, a sprig of rosemary, or a teaspoon of dried rosemary, and 2 medium onions. Second, prepare the base. Chop the onions and blend them with a little water to create a juice. Strain it through a clean cloth or fine strainer until you have about half a cup of onion juice. Third, create the infusion. In a small saucepan, add the onion juice, curry leaves, rosemary, and sesame seeds. Simmer gently on low heat for 10-15 minutes. This allows the nutrients to release into the liquid. Let it cool completely. Fourth, apply to the scalp. Massage the mixture gently into your scalp, making sure it covers the roots where new hair grows. Leave it on for at least 30 minutes, then rinse with a mild natural shampoo. Fifth, be consistent. The key is not to expect overnight miracles. Use this remedy 2 to 3 times a week. Within weeks, you may notice your hair feels shinier, thicker, and healthier. Over time, natural color may begin to reappear. And here's an important tip. Always do a small patch test first to make sure your skin isn't sensitive to any ingredient. It's simple, gentle, and safe, a far cry from the harsh chemicals of store-bought dyes. When I first started using the remedy, I'll admit, I didn't expect much. After all, we've been told our whole lives that gray hair is permanent. But within just a few weeks, I noticed small changes that encouraged me to keep going. The first thing wasn't color, it was texture. My hair felt softer, smoother, and less brittle. The shine began to return almost like my hair was waking up after a long sleep. Around the 6 to 8 week mark, I began spotting tiny shifts in color. The strands at my roots looked a little darker, as if faint shadows were filling them in. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. And as more weeks passed, those streaks of silver seemed to blend with deeper tones, giving my hair a salt and pepper richness I hadn't seen in years. What surprised me most was how these subtle changes affected me emotionally. I smiled more at my reflection. I felt like myself again, not older than I am, but renewed, confident, vibrant. No, it wasn't a magic wand, but it was progress. And sometimes progress is all we need to believe in possibility again. While the remedy works on the outside, what we do on the inside matters just as much. Our hair is a reflection of our overall health, and certain habits can either speed up or slow down the graying process. Nutrition comes first. Foods rich in antioxidants like blueberries, spinach, and walnuts help fight oxidative stress, protecting those delicate pigment cells. Copper-rich foods such as cashews, lentils, and dark chocolate support melanin production, while B vitamins from whole grains and leafy greens keep follicles strong. Hydration is another key. Hair strands are made up of nearly 25% water, so drinking enough daily keeps them resilient and prevents dullness. Stress management also plays a role. Chronic stress drains vitamins and minerals, leaving the body little to spare for hair. Gentle activities like walking outdoors, practicing yoga, or even mindful breathing can protect hair as much as they protect the heart. Sleep may be the most underestimated factor. During deep rest, the body repairs itself, including the cells in your scalp. Aiming for 7 to 8 hours a night gives your hair the best chance to renew itself. Think of the remedy as one piece of a larger puzzle. When combined with healthy habits, it doesn't just bring back color, it helps hair stay strong, shiny, and full of life. When I first spotted that silver strand, I thought it was the end of something, a permanent mark of time I couldn't reverse. But what I've learned since is that nature often holds more answers than we give it credit for. This simple remedy didn't just help me see subtle color return to my hair, it gave me back a piece of myself. It reminded me that age isn't about giving up, it's about caring for ourselves in smarter, kinder ways. So if you've ever felt discouraged by your reflection, know this: your story isn't over. With the right support, your hair and your confidence can shine again. Don't give up on yourself. Sometimes the most surprising transformations begin with the simplest choices. And this remedy, it may just be the beginning of a whole new chapter.